What's up, everybody? It's a good day to be a Vol again. We're coming off two big games versus Texas and Georgia. We beat the Dogs tonight, 74. What was the final score? I guess
74-56.
74-56, so 18-point win. Looked a little shaky in the first half, but we really controlled the game in the second half. Andy, let's start with your initial thoughts on the game.
So why don't you start with how shaky we were in the first half, because I tuned in at halftime. Just
Okay.
Work and some other stuff. So
Sure, yeah. So we were not really shooting the ball well. Like there's consistent theme that kind of carried over from the Florida game. Defense was good. We held them to 26. That's usually what you can expect. If we do sub 30 and a half, I'm happy. So 26 in the first half, 30 in the second half. That's basically what you can ask for. Just a little sloppy on offense, I would say, in the first half, but shots started to go big time in the second.
yeah, so I tuned in. I was really surprised. Well, maybe not so surprised to see the first half score, very low, and thought to myself, okay, what's happening here? And then they just went on some kind of like a 24-4 run as soon as I started watching. So I'm gonna take the credit here and say I brought the good luck back with the return back to the pod.
Okay.
And I know it was pretty painful that last couple of weeks while I was missing the missing the action, losing to the Gators and all. So good to be back. I've been a little sick, so that's why I've been absent. But good to be back here, and good to see Tennessee beating up on old former SEC East rivals.
Mm-hmm.
Always
yeah, I think we saw like one of Ziegler's best games this week or in the last couple weeks. Chaz Lanier didn't play as expected, and we still got the win. Kind of similar to last year. Like what happens when Dalton Connect is not doing well? Chaz Lanier 5 points and 4 rebounds, really non-existent. 2 for 16. So I wonder what the hell's going on. Does not seem like the same Chaz, man. So that's a little
I saw this like tweet on January 7th, January 6th. It said Dalton. It was basically comparing Dalton Connect and Chaz Lanier through the first 14 games of the year, and it said Dalton 15 points per game, 4 rebounds, shooting 45, 36, 80, 211 total points. Chaz Lanier drew 14 games, 20 points per game, 3 rebounds, 40, similar field goal percentages, but shooting 45 from the 3, almost 10% better than Dalton was at the time. Of course, as typical Tennessee Twitter goes, as soon as that tweet was posted and got 2,000 likes, Chaz struggled mighty against Florida, mighty against Texas, and now mighty against Georgia. So it's almost like a we jumped the gun a little bit on comparing this guy to one of the greatest that we've had. Since then he's shot 3 of 16, 3 of 11, and 2 of 16 tonight, for a grand total of 25 points in 3 games, shooting 1 for 9, 2 for 6, and 1 for 9 again from 3.9. So he's in a major struggle zone right now, and we need him to somehow just start making his shots out and get out of the slump, because as you saw, tonight we were able to get by with ZZ, Meshack coming through big time, and Gainey, but I feel like it's not a very deep team, and if Lanier is gonna struggle like that, this is like a classic Rick Barnes first round, second round bounce against like a team that goes nuclear hot from the 3-point line, like Oregon State, Loyola. Like we've seen it too many times.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a respite in the schedule. I think these are easier of the four of easier 4 game stretches. We got Vandy coming up next and Mississippi State. Vandy Saturday, Mississippi State basically almost a little bit less than a week from now. And then we have, the disaster zone of Auburn, Kentucky, Florida, 3 very tough teams heading into February. So I think we gotta get these shooting woes out of our system for Chaz, right? We need big time performances. Like I always say this on the podcast, but 3 people above 15 points, that's our key to victory. We're not a deep team. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to say 3 people above 15 points. But
right, when you had Dalton Connect, giving you 25, 30, 35, 40, maybe you don't need 3 people giving you 15, but we don't have that.
Yeah, so I would say that's my number one concern right now is our shooting of the ball, shooting of the 3. We got the rebound matchup back, which is encouraging. We had 35 rebounds versus 25 for Georgia, and that also happens to be like one of the biggest predictors of how we're going to do is how we rebound. 18 rebounds, 6 blocks, 11 steals. ZZ with 6 steals, looking like Gary Payton out there. Milicic 3 steals.
It's incredible.
2 blocks from Meshack. Okpara finally playing like someone that's tall. 3 blocks. So we need those combination of steal and blocks. If we're gonna win, we need to hit those overs on steals and blocks for our main guys. Again, we don't have depth, and you can beat Georgia without having depth. But if we had play Florida again, if we play Auburn, if we play Kentucky, it's not going to be as pretty. We need these guys to really be shooting better. I almost feel like we need to play Kent State. Unfortunately, the way that college basketball works is, you play your out of conference and then you play your in conference.
Right.
You don't get a chance to play Kent State or your slump buster. Maybe Mississippi State will be our slump buster or Vandy. We usually do well against those teams, but man, we need something to head in the other direction for us. Still, I think that we watched a bit of the Texas game.
Mm-hmm.
We struggle down low with like dominant players.
Right.
We're not built to beat like a big guy. I'm very scared of Janai Broom from Auburn or any of the Kentucky forwards like Willie doing us. So we're number 6.
At least looks like Broom's not gonna be playing. I don't think he's gonna be back by the time. So that's one blessing because going into Auburn is gonna be tough, and if we have to go against Broom, like I think might as well just see ourselves out. Only play one time whole season, so might as well sweep ourselves back to Knoxville.
Yeah, we do have some road tests. Another kind of tough thing. Vandy on the road and Auburn on the road. We get three games in a row at home, and we have to go to at Oklahoma and Kentucky. Following that into the middle of February. So, I think like what do you think mainly is our problem on the road, Andy? Like what happens?
It really comes down to shooting. I mean, like defensively, looking at looking at like the game at Texas or at Florida, right? It's not like they started out collapsing defensively. Like Florida game, when you look at the opening score, right? Like you wonder, like, oh, what's going on? Like what happened? And you sort of, you know, find yourself down 10-0. But that's not because Tennessee just allowed Florida to score all of those within like, the first 2 minutes. It was just, we were able to hold our defense fine. It's just that offense couldn't do anything. Sloppy turnovers. Again, basketball is like a game of runs, and that's one thing I've consistently seen, unfortunately, from Rick at neutral sites or away games. It's very similar to football, which is very frustrating. Like no different than Ohio State football game that we saw from the Florida basketball game, right? We uh, kept trying the things, even though it's not working. It's almost like watching the James Harden Rockets brick, 20 something straight 3-pointers in a row versus Golden State to lose game 7. Sometimes you just need to cut the momentum. When the other team goes on a run. Rick Barnes, I think he's a more of a Phil Jackson type. Like he kind of sometimes just lets the players go out there grind. I don't know if it's sometimes almost as a punishment, or maybe because he, especially when he has ZZ out there as the floor general, he's just like, hey, like you're a senior, figure it out. You're supposed to like figure out how to slow down the tempo, or whatever, but I don't know. I feel like sometimes it just doesn't work as well, and we let the other team build a massive lead, and you're literally trying to like just get a lucky stop every possession. I mean, even if you play perfect defense, chances are the games are more designed to be more favorable towards offense. So you can only try your best, and there's no guarantee that you're going to be able to stop them every single time. So when you're chasing, you need to be able to score on the other way, at least in a consistent way. Like you look at somebody like Auburn, Alabama, even Florida, the way they're at the pace that they're able to score. Iowa State, I think that's what we're lacking.
Mm-hmm. Before we kind of wrap up on basketball, I think a couple of points is going back to the Texas game. We still didn't cover. I know it was 4.5. They lost they won by 4. So still on the road, we're having a trouble beating our expectations. My main point is there's no let up in our schedule, right? Last year we lost to Mississippi State. Vanderbilt, I think we should be able to handle these two teams. But after that, we were talking about it last week. 5 or 6 losses is what you can have in conference. We already have 1 loss. So this is the meat of our schedule, right? There's no let up from here. It's crazy to think, but we basically only have 6 weeks left before we have to get into the tournament talk. So not that much time, whatever, 10 or so games left. Just have to be a lot sharper on execution on offense. Defense will travel. I don't really think that we need to change up that much on defense, but we do need to on offense. All right. Let's switch gears a little bit. Transform our minds from the round ball to the oval. College football up next. We have our natty set, right? We have Ohio State, I think -8 right now as it stands versus Notre Dame. Let's get into a little bit of what we thought about those semifinals and then predict a score. So for me, Penn State, classic Penn State. That was their game to win. Riley Leonard, absolute brain fart on the field. I mean, if you're not going to go for the field goal, don't throw piss missile into the ground. Terrible kind of execution in that type of scenario. If you're trying to throw it away out of bounds, man. Like I watched the post game and he said, "Yeah, man, I was just trying to throw it into the ground." Well, you threw it in the ground too close to a opposing cornerback. Notre Dame defense, I will say, performed pretty well in that fourth quarter. I know there were a lot of points going on both sides of the ball, but really stepped up in a big way. Any thoughts there from Notre Dame, Penn State?
I think you almost summarized the characteristics of the Penn State football team. James Franklin is he's like almost too square.
I will say that this one is not on James Franklin. There's so many of them that are on him.
Sure, but this was just one of the ways that they could have lost the game. There were probably like 10, 20 different ways that they would have lost. But I think a lot of people would have predicted a James Franklin loss because he does what he's expected to do. One way or another. Like he would, go beat every other team that's ranked below them pretty handily. They always do that. Lose to the top 5 talented teams. Another loss to the top 5. Now something like a 1-18 or. I'm gonna actually look it up just so that I don't share a fake stat.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to say 1-15 now. So to the teams ranked in the top 5, and that one win was that fluke win versus Ohio State with back in late 2010s, 2017. So you have to kind of, I think. That being said, still a magnificent season for Penn State. Their goal was to make the playoffs because that format was made perfectly for them, and they made the playoffs. They won the home playoff game. They made the semifinal. Something to be very proud of. I mean, here I am a fan of a team that got bounced in the first round, talking shit about team that lost in the semifinals, right? So definitely something to be proud of. And ultimately, all it takes is just like one, and who knows, it could be a floodgate after that. Yeah. It's like, look at how long it took Jordan to get to the. I'm not comparing, Penn State to the Bulls or anything, but sometimes it works like that. So you gotta. If the Penn State fans want to rally behind their coach, I don't think it's unreasonable.
Yeah, definitely.
Never know.
Definitely. I would say that it's a big boost for the recruiting class to say that, hey, man, like this playoff is set up for us. Like if you want to reach the semifinal, if you want to make your, season longer, come to Penn State. We have one game a year versus Ohio State or Michigan. And then we get to go to the playoff and, mess around there. So I will say, overall, pretty good job by Penn State this year. Can't really doubt them. And they're about where they were. Notre Dame, I will say they're playing much better than expectation. Mm-hmm. We shit on them for that NIU loss, but maybe that was exactly what they needed to.
Yeah, and you got to give the coach the credit to be able to rally the troops like that after an embarrassing loss. Most seasons, that would mean, the end of your season for a championship aspirations team like that, like Michigan losing to App State, right? Boom, one loss, and their season was like ruined. From the beginning, like back in 2007 or whatever, and Notre Dame could have just easily as crumbled, but then Marcus Freeman did a good job, sort of keeping that, and again, like I think I don't think ultimately looking at the looking ahead to finals, I don't think Notre Dame would be the ultimate winner, but I think it's pretty impressive that they're able to rally and get here to the stage.
Yeah, so Ohio State, we don't have to go into as much detail. I think they kind of played not their best game and still ended up winning by 14. That goes to show how strong of a program they are. It's really their defense that showed up last game. Not really as much of an offensive explosion as last time. Credit to Texas's defense, kept them in the game in the second half. Was a little bit scary in the first half, but things got a lot closer in the second half. But classic, kind of Quinn Ewers meltdown to end the game. One thing I want to say about the game, very strange play calling on that last drive by Sark. First and goal at the 1, end up on the 8-yard line for fourth and goal. Just weird play calling. Toss way behind the line of scrimmage to the left. Didn't work. Setting up the incompletion on third and goal, and then the Jack Sawyer strip sack that I feel like I've seen 1,000 times at this point. But yeah, credits to them. They look dominant. And let's get a score prediction. Ohio State -8. I'm probably going to take that.
Yeah. I'm with you there. I was thinking about this the other day. As soon as Tennessee was bounced, and we started taking a lot of shit all over online. But like almost every year, more than half of the games always like end up as a blowout. Like, who remembers the Deshaun Watson, Clemson shutting down Ohio State in the semifinals, right? Georgia in the final versus TCU. Alabama, thrashing Notre Dame, as well as like Cincinnati and Washington, those years that they made the playoffs and got matched up versus number 1 Alabama. Clemson, Trevor Lawrence, Clemson, walked all over Notre Dame, I want to say, and Ohio State, or was it Ohio State and I forget exactly. And then LSU, obviously, too, right? So, I think a lot of people do always, want to, and there's definitely some classics like the Ohio State Georgia game, that was played on New Year's Eve. That the miss as the ball drops, and there's a lot of good classics like the Bama Clemson, Deshaun Watson game and such. Tua Georgia game. But at the end of the day, I think a lot of, typically in college football, it's not like the pros where, like inches here, inches there, really make the difference. I think a lot of just like one mistakes, and getting the troops to focus again and keeping the game close is a lot harder in the college level, and that's probably why also the talent level is a lot different and a little bit more parity in the NFL with the draft and the salary cap. So I would think we always tend to think a lot of times that the games are going to be close. But sometimes it just ends up in a blowout. We saw that with Ohio State, Tennessee. And I think like I'm not saying Notre Dame is gonna get blown out, but I do think just based on what we've seen so far, what Ohio State's been able to do since that loss to Michigan, like we're just talking about what Notre Dame's been able to do since losing to NIU, and almost said NYU. It's, too close to heart. NIU. So hey, maybe the loss to Michigan was the wake up call that Ohio State needed, and they're rolling, and it could just really be like a 2 touchdown beat down.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears to NFL. Last week I got massacred on my podcast picks. I went 1-5. I went. I think I went for the Dawgs too early, Andy. I went for my all dogs go to heaven, and they really went there already. Like they didn't have any chance to
year of the square, and you went all dogs. So that wasn't good.
I will say that one thing about me is I don't quit with my strategies. So 1-5 last week. I'm gonna go all dog this week again. Texans +8 versus Chiefs. Commanders +9.5 versus Lions. Rams +6.5 versus Eagles, and Bills +1 at home versus the Ravens. Give me all 4 of them. I don't know if you're gonna follow me there, but I'm sure you might have some different picks slash winning picks. So let's start with Texans versus the Chiefs. Texans really shocked me last week. That was one of my favorites that I bet. I guess I bet Chargers -3 at the Texans, and they thoroughly beat down the Chargers. So very improved play from CJ Stroud, and namely the defense. Defense kept them in check. I think Chiefs win the game, but Texans cover the spread. Your thoughts?
Agree with you there. I think Chiefs this year, they've not been blowing teams out, right? Very like one score games. And CJ Stroud, maybe a little bit of motivation, pissed off that Brian Day couldn't get his shit together while he was playing, and seeing his players, like the freshmen, I guess, players that they used to play with, making the way to the Natty. Maybe he wants to get to the Super Bowl and talk shit back.
All right. Fair enough. Commanders 9.5 versus Lions. Thoughts there?
I think the plus just seems like a too big of a spread there. I mean, like Detroit is the favorite, and I expect a lot of people will be backing them too. I just feel like Commanders, the way that Daniels can kind of like escape the pocket and let the play develop. That ability to scramble is really underrated. Like I value that more so than just a pure rushing ability. Anyone can I don't mean to say anyone, but like there's a lot of good quarterbacks that can avoid that pressure and run and get some extra yards. But it's the ability to really escape the pocket and sort of wait for the play to develop, or receivers to sort of get a position and be able to throw that. And I feel like Daniels has been able to do that, which is why they've had those like Hail Marys and shit like that this year.
I think 5 or 6 games they have won while trailing in the last 20 seconds.
Right. So they definitely know how to like move the ball, and I think we could be in a situation where like they're up like they're up some amount, and and then some like a wild down 2 touchdowns, Hail Mary attempt to bring it to 7 or something like that, and then try onside kick and boom, and cover, lose by 7 type of situation.
All right. First game on Sunday, we got Rams at Eagles plus 6.5.
Ooh. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna make a pick here,
dude. The way these lines are, it just makes me want to take every single dog.
Right. That 6.5. That makes you like that. That's like a very like it makes you think like it looks like a trap, right? Like same with the Lions line, like 9.5. It's not 10.5. It's like nicely inside the the easy touchdown and a field goal. Almost wanna take the dog there, but I think I'll just go square there and go Eagles 6.5.
Okay. Guaranteeing someone is gonna win on that pick.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Thanks to our listeners.
Yeah.
All right. Last game. I think this is the Super Bowl, in my opinion. Whoever wins this game is going to win the Super Bowl. Ravens at Bills. I don't know, man. I just think that give me the Bills at home. I don't think we see Lamar Jackson playing that well in these deep playoff games. And the Bills just seem very dangerous with their passing attack. Josh Allen can do everything. I mean, Lamar Jackson, stats-wise, is probably having one of the godliest seasons ever. And whoever wins this game should be the MVP. Frankly, in terms of MVP talk, I don't know how you don't give it to Lamar Jackson.
But it
Honestly,
was like that last year. All the numbers looked like, I don't know how you don't give it to Josh Allen, but then Lamar's team had a better record. And this year it's the reverse. So,
but
life's
yeah,
a bitch sometimes.
but then you got some like saving face math on top of that, right? Like
Right.
you gave it to Lamar Jackson last year with last year's number. How do you not give it to Lamar Jackson again? So
I mean, but then, MVP is like always about narrative, right? Like, LeBron didn't win it year after year. Like look at Nikola Jokic, like, after he won MVP, he put up better numbers, but then, the NBA writers didn't give it to him. So, it's, I think MVP is usually driven by narratives. And I think like Lamar having Derrick Henry and like a lot more, I guess, like known names as receiving threats, whereas like you look at like James Cook. I mean, like he's developed into something, but no one's like recognizing him like they do Shaquan or Derrick Henry, and certainly on the receiving side of ball as well. It's not like they have like a Pro Bowl receiver there. I mean, I guess you can also argue that the Lamar Jackson makes these players better too. But at the end of the day, I think it's sort of that nuanced narrative that you can sort of use to push and say, hey, look, won the home field advantage and all, despite having no like a 600-yard receiver and blah blah blah.
okay, so who's gonna cover the spread? Who's gonna win the game? So
I think I'm gonna take the Bills at home there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess nicely to are the Bills the dogs there? Plus,
as of right now, it's basically a pick.
Yeah, basically a flip, right? Yeah, so I'm gonna take the Bills to advance, I guess. So I guess going by the seed, I'm taking the two underdogs and two favorites. But like either way, I guess in terms of the bettings, I'm taking 3 dogs and one favorite. But going Houston to cover, Buffalo to cover, Philly to cover, and Washington to cover.
Okay, for me, similar thing, but I'm just whenever you see a plus, that's where I am. So,
hopefully that means plus on the on overall math after the weekend is over.
Yep. All right, guys. So we covered a little bit of Tennessee reaction. We'll be back next week. I think we should either probably react to the Natty Monday night and just go over what's happened in college basketball up until that point. Hopefully Tennessee will be back closer to number 1 by the time we meet again. Maybe 3 or something next week if we take care of business. So let's keep this train rolling. And Chaz Lanier, wake the fuck up, man.
Stop. Yeah, wake up, brother. Stop, lay off the joints, go to the gym.
All right. For Andy and myself, this has been Locky Top Sports. Thank you so much for listening, and go Vols.
Go Vols.